My daughter whispered in my ear that my husband had put something in my soup. Do I need to listen to her? Before starting this exciting story, I will ask you to dial 1,000 subscribers on my channel. I love you very much, so let's get started. I'm uncertain whether I watch too many crime shows or if I'm just being paranoid, so I've come here to seek advice. Last week, I prepared chicken gnocchi soup. When it was nearly ready, I started assisting my daughter with a school project. She served us both a bowl of soup, and moments later, my boyfriend rushed into the room with a bowl in hand, urging me to eat the bowl he had. I told him it was all the same, but he insisted that he wanted mine because it supposedly had more chicken. Reflecting on it now, I realized there was no way he could have known that since my daughter was the one who dished it out. My daughter then took the bowl he handed me and said she would eat it, but he yanked it out of her hand and said, "No, it's for Mom." I accepted the bowl and he went to the living room. I continued working on my daughter's project and advised her not to eat the soup. About 20 minutes later, I went into the kitchen to dispose of the soups and noticed he was still eating his. He questioned why we hadn't eaten any, and I lied, saying the cat got into it while we were waiting for it to cool down. He screamed, "What? Was it your bowl? Cats can't eat that." I reassured him it was just a lick, but since then, he has been obsessively watching the cat with unusual stress. These accidents have been occurring over the past 6 months, not in quick succession. Following the soup incident, my emergency money went missing. I always keep money hidden for emergencies because I lost my older sister due to her inability to escape a dangerous situation, and I swore on her grave that I would never be in such a position myself. After the soup incident, when I went to retrieve my money, it was gone. I had hidden it well and changed its location every few months. I asked my daughter if she might have found it and assured her that if she took it, I wouldn't be mad because she couldn't have spent it. She denied taking it. A few hours later, she recalled seeing my pink wallet in my boyfriend's glove box when they were pulled over the other day. I hadn't disclosed to her which wallet contained the money or that it was even in a wallet. I decided to ask my boyfriend if he had found the money by accident. He responded by questioning why I was hiding a large amount of money and said, "You know you could never leave me," followed by a laugh, something he had never said before. I told him the money was meant for my daughter's Christmas gifts. He denied finding the money, but offered to use his credit card for presents. I didn't mention to him that my daughter had seen my wallet in his car. In addition to these incidents, several other occurrences over the past few months now seem less random in hindsight. For instance, I have a severe latex allergy. One day, as we were about to have sex, I noticed in the mirror by our bed that the condom wrapper was a different color. I stopped him because it wasn't latex-free, and he claimed it was an old one he had mistakenly used. We've been dating for over 2 years, and he is well aware of how serious my allergy is. Furthermore, my EpiPen, which I keep in my room, has gone missing. I only realized this while searching for my money. Another peculiar incident occurred when I was carrying laundry down the stairs, and my boyfriend was following me. He kicked the back of my leg, causing me to fall. He claimed it was an accident, saying he slipped, but the stairs are made of wood and he was wearing steel-toe boots. At the time, I thought it was just an accident. Am I overthinking this? My anxiety has been at an all-time high. Do I watch too much true crime? Here's why I think I might be overreacting. We generally have a good relationship. He loves my daughter as if she were his own. We split all shared bills and both contribute equally around the apartment. We don't fight, and he has never even raised his voice at me. Although we live paycheck to paycheck, our bills are always paid. I considered going to my mom's house for a few days and confronting him about the money once I felt safe, but I don't have the funds to do that now. My mom is on a fixed income and can't help. I feel stupid for being scared. Last night, I decided to check his car for my wallet, but he caught me. I asked him for my money back, and he tried to play dumb. I told him my daughter had seen it there. He accused her of lying. I told him I never disclosed the money or the specific wallet to her. He insisted that he was a grown man and that kids lie all the time. I asked him once more for my money, and he said, "I'm not giving you money to leave me." While he was in the shower, I grabbed my cat and my daughter, and we left. Unfortunately, I can't take my cat with us to a shelter, and all the domestic violence shelters are full. I managed to secure a night at a cheap motel. This exact situation is why I had saved money. I did everything right, and now I feel completely screwed. It feels like I just blew up my entire life. Update. The day after we left, he sent me a picture of my EpiPen and tried to tell me it had been in my nightstand the whole time. I had torn that room apart looking for it, so I know for a fact that it wasn't there. He had taken it. He then tried to convince me to come back, saying that I had scared myself silly and watched too many true crime shows. Something didn't feel right, so I told him to put my money and EpiPen in the mailbox. We went back and forth, and he denied having my money. He then said, "If we broke up, you and Maria, my daughter, are no longer allowed in my apartment and will be treated like trespassers," and sent me a picture of his target practice sheets. I went to the police about the money, but was told it was a civil issue. I was upset, but wanted to retrieve the rest of my belongings, so I asked for an escort. Yesterday, I finally got an escort into the apartment with a cop and my landlord. He had destroyed everything of my daughter's and ruined the laptop charger I use for work. There was no EpiPen. My daughter's medication and backup medical supplies were also ruined. Our landlord let me off the lease without having to pay an early termination fee, which is great considering I have no money. Motels are expensive. I don't want to get rid of our cat. All shelters are full, and this is scary as hell. Update. After my last update, I was encouraged to return to the police station. On Saturday, December 9th, I went back once more. This time, I came prepared. I printed out the threatening text messages, including the target practice sheets he had sent me. I explained in detail about the accidents that demonstrated his attempts to harm me. Additionally, I had my landlord provide a written statement expressing his belief that our lives were in danger after seeing all the evidence I presented, and confirming that he allowed me to terminate my lease early. I also brought along the destroyed medical supplies and medications. Despite all this, the police said they had already spoken to him, and he denied everything. He claimed my daughter had probably destroyed her own belongings because she is special ed. For the record, she has very mild Asperger's but does not destroy things. Since it was his word against mine, the police believed him. They told me there was no proof he stole the money or that it even existed in the first place. They also said the EpiPen was my responsibility and wouldn't take any action if it was lost. I was advised to let it go and felt like they treated me as if I were bothering them with petty civil issues. I am so defeated and angry. My daughter won't have gifts for Christmas because I need to save for a new apartment deposit. We've been staying in motels while I reach out to domestic violence resources, but I can't get help without a restraining order or police report. Every place I've contacted is out of funds. He is getting away with everything, and I'm immensely relieved we got out because there is no doubt in my mind he would have gotten away with my murder. It feels like nothing has changed since my last update. No justice, no repercussions for him. He gets to stay in the apartment. Although my landlord offered me another unit across town, I can't afford to move in. This exact situation is why I had money stashed away. No one has ever cared about us, and I knew that. There is nothing else I can do. Update. On Christmas, he slashed my tires, fully aware that I would have to pay out of pocket to replace them, which I can't afford. Today, he escalated his threats by throwing a heavy patio chair through the window of the place we were staying at, making it clear that he knew our location. As a result, I was asked to leave for everyone's safety. However, my daughter and I are far from safe. In desperation, I walked through sleet and snow with my daughter and our cat, feeling utterly vulnerable and like open prey. We ended up returning to the police station to sit in the lobby until morning. The shelters are still full, and now I have to disclose his dangerous nature wherever we go. The police were unable to locate him, but I am certain he is nearby. Update. Please read my other posts for more context, but here's a brief summary. I'm pretty sure my ex was, or still is, trying to kill me. Initially, I dismissed a few incidents as accidents, until I suspected he poisoned soup that was specifically meant for me. On Christmas, he found our location, slashed my tires, and threw a heavy patio chair and planter through a window. He still hasn't been caught. I checked everywhere I could think of, and still couldn't figure out how he was tracking us. I blocked him on everything, including email, after he sent me pictures of his target practice sheets among other threatening things. I got a cheap burner phone to avoid being tracked. My daughter was out of school for winter break, so he didn't follow her or anything. I even checked my car for a tracker, but found nothing. I do not have an iPhone, so I couldn't check whatever app an AirTag is attached to. My cat is harness trained and wears a collar, but there was no tracker on it. Until today, when I decided to thoroughly inspect the cat carrier. I ran my fingers over every inch of it and felt a bump on the bottom soft side. There was no new stitching or obvious cut. He must have used a seam ripper along the stitching. It was almost undetectable and I nearly missed it. He must have had help because I've never seen him sew anything. Probably the same person who is helping him hide now. If his excuse for the AirTag was to track my cat, he would have put it on the collar or harness because that's what the cat wears during walks or car rides. My cat would never go in his carrier unless I was planning on leaving for more than a few days. I have no idea how long the tracker has been there, nor do I know its range, but now we aren't safe where we are, again. I feel disgusting and like hunted prey. This is so unnerving and uncomfortable. Who the fuck was I living with? Update. I hope this update brings as much joy to you as it does to me. I was finally granted the restraining order. Additionally, we will receive the keys to our new apartment on the 11th. The apartment is not only affordable for me on a monthly basis, but also comes partially furnished. It's situated in an incredibly safe area, conveniently close to my daughter's school, and there is security on site. Until then, we will be living in our car, and of course it's snowing, but we are together and we have our kitty with us. This nightmare is almost over. Update. This morning he found me. I've been feeling extremely ill, so after I dropped my daughter off at school, I went straight home. I didn't take the usual precaution of driving around to ensure no one was following me. I made a mistake. He attacked me, breaking my nose and shattering my orbital bone. Fortunately, he is now in jail. I'm sorry to have to share this update with you all. Update. I understand the importance of having savings and living within my means. How many of us are just one disaster away from losing everything? A fire, job loss, a bank error, a delayed paycheck, illness, or theft can drastically change our lives. I had money saved because I was aware that any one of these events could occur, and I wouldn't have anyone to turn to for help. And then it happened. 2 months ago, my ex tried to poison me and stole the money I had saved. Since then, it's been a nightmare. I managed to break my lease and leave. Over the Christmas break, I stayed with my mom, but I returned because I didn't want to disrupt my daughter's schooling, and I underestimated my ex. Fortunately, through domestic violence, DV services, I was able to secure an apartment very quickly, which was nothing short of a miracle. I know how difficult it is to find housing and gather the necessary deposits for a new place. Somehow, everything fell into place for me. But then I made a mistake. On Friday, I took my daughter to school and wasn't as careful as usual. Normally, I drive around to ensure I'm not being followed, but I started feeling paranoid and angry about wasting gas. Plus, I have pneumonia and strep throat and haven't been able to afford the antibiotics, so I just went straight home to bed. He found me and attacked me, breaking my nose, shattering my orbital bone, and giving me a concussion. Despite having a restraining order, he managed to get to me, but he was arrested. I shared this on another forum, and everyone advised me to move, leave, run, but I can't do that. It's difficult to make people understand that it's not about making excuses or enjoying living in fear. It's about the reality of not being able to pull money out of thin air. My credit card is maxed out. I contacted DV services at the hospital, but since I had just received help recently, I couldn't get assistance again. What many don't realize about abusive men is that they don't just move on or stop. The DV shelters are full. I wish people would understand that I know how serious this situation is, but money doesn't grow on trees, even if a life depends on it. Update. It all makes sense now. If you need more context, please read my past posts. In my first post, I mentioned how we had a normal relationship. He was never abusive, controlling, or even raised his voice. The money he ended up stealing was money I had hidden since before he even moved in. I wasn't hiding money to get away from him. I was not afraid of him. I lost my sister to domestic violence, DV, and swore that would never happen to me, only to end up in that exact situation. We didn't have this spectacular love filled with insane chemistry. It was nowhere near a love of my life situation, which is why I was so confused by how desperate he got. After he got arrested, his mom went on a social media rant because I got her baby locked up. She knew we were sleeping in my car and was telling her followers that if they found me, they should call her. Very bold and insane. One of my ex's friends saw this and commented, IDK, if you should be sticking up for him, he needs serious help. I don't know how I caught it before it was deleted, but I reached out to him on my fake Facebook account. Every time they were drinking, he would talk about her and then laugh it off. It made his friends uncomfortable, but they chalked it up to the booze. 2 weeks ago, when my daughter came to see me in the hospital, she was distraught. It made sense because I looked like hell, but she kept repeating over and over, asking me why he did this to me. I think there was more to this, and I'm frightened to my core. Remember, he stole my EpiPen and money, but destroyed almost everything of hers. I didn't understand it because she had nothing to do with the breakup. Why did he destroy her medicine? Why did he destroy her clothes? Fucking why? Don't abusers threaten their victims into not saying anything or something will happen to someone or something they love? I'm sick to my stomach even writing that out. I don't know where to go from here. How do I even begin a conversation about this with her? We are safe. I'm not worried about him finding us because he is still in jail, which is great because I'm out of money. He wasn't desperate and crazy because he was losing me. I think it was because of her. Update. I'm overwhelmed with anger and fear right now. I wish I could have faith in the justice system and the police because they are supposed to protect us, right? But the reality is that this isn't always the case. I'm exhausted from constantly being hurt and living in fear. My anxiety is through the roof, and it's utterly draining to be in constant fear for my daughter's life and my own. Update. I understand that many people are following my posts and will be disappointed to hear that my ex has been bailed out. I am still in the process of healing from when he broke my nose and shattered my orbital bone. I realize that a restraining order is just a piece of paper because he ignored it when he attacked me, and I know the police aren't going to save me. For security, I only have a door bar that slides under the knob. I don't have a ring camera, and I can't afford to buy a firearm until I have extra funds. He made me sell it a year ago because he was uncomfortable with it being in the house. That was another red flag I missed. My question is, what can I do to feel safer without spending money? Every night, my daughter and I push the couch in front of the door, but I'm worried that if there is a fire, we won't be able to get out. I have myself worried sick to the point of developing painful stomach ulcers. I tried talking to my nearest neighbor, but when I started explaining my situation and mentioned how it would be great if she could let me know if she sees anyone around my apartment, she got weirded out, which I understand. I'm just looking for some peace of mind. Will that ever exist in my life again? Update. I know this is all I post about, and if you want more context, you can read my past posts. I feel like I need to tell someone what is happening so that it feels real and that I'm not just upset and crazy for nothing. My ex got out on bail last week. My daughter and I already left the new apartment we had moved into after he attacked me. My daughter's school knows about my situation and is aware that I have a restraining order. Today, my daughter got a call from the front office at school. The secretary told her that the pickup car had changed from mine to a new car. She was being informed of this so that when school let out, she wouldn't get upset when she didn't see my car. The new car mentioned was the same one as my ex's. It is a rare car, color, and she told me she knew it was his car. She didn't say anything to the secretary or her teacher because she was instantly scared. It breaks my heart that she was in fear because she thought he had got me and was going to get her. She received the message hours before school let out, so she spent all that time worrying. During the last 10 minutes of the day, when the kids can use the bathroom and clean up, she started crying in front of her whole class. When the bell rang, she refused to leave her classroom. I was in the carpool line when I got the call from her teacher. I have never seen her so upset, and that is saying a lot because she was so upset when she visited me in the hospital. Her face was beet red. She was hyperventilating, snot everywhere. She had cried so hard she got a nosebleed. After they told me what happened, I was livid. It all sounded like bullshit because the secretary never should have relayed the message without talking to me first, since she said it was a male on the phone. As soon as the secretary looked my daughter up to find out which room to call, she should have seen the message I thought I had left saying no one should ever pick her up but me. No information should ever be released. He was never in contact with her, so it's not that big of a deal. It was a mistake, is what they told me. All he had to give was her full name and what grade she was in to get a message to her. They said that to me with a straight face while the bruises he gave me were very visible, proving he is a violent man. I'm so fucking angry. She told me she knew I didn't get a new car because, as much as I try to hide it from her, she knows I'm broke. She thought she was going to have to go with him. She has been so traumatized, and I don't know what to do. She wants to switch to e-learning, but since it's not a medical reason and not a school-wide restriction, I would have to pay to rent the laptop, which I obviously can't afford. The school is calling it an innocent mistake and didn't even apologize. I know I'm the only one responsible for my daughters and my safety, but damn if people could stop jeopardizing it like it's nothing and then acting like I'm the asshole for being upset because it was a mistake. He wasn't there after school, but he could have been. Update. I've had a few people asking for updates, so I wanted to provide some information. I can now confidently say that my daughter, our cat, and I are safe, and will continue to be safe from here on out. This means I can start the process of rebuilding our lives without the constant fear that has been overshadowing us. While I'm not okay emotionally, the important thing is that we are safe. Update. I just want to say that if anyone is going through something similar to what I've experienced, you can vent to me. This is a situation that you truly have to experience firsthand to understand its difficulty. I know there are domestic violence, DV resources available, but they are extremely limited. I had someone from here checking in with me, and when I explained what was happening, they asked, "Why aren't you stable yet?" That question really took me off guard. Only a few people knew that I was pregnant during all of this. I left my home with basically nothing and went to a hotel, but he found me. I moved to another hotel, and he found me again. I then went to a safe house for 2 nights, but I was asked to leave because my ex was considered dangerous. After that, I slept in my car with my daughter, went to my mom's out of state, and then returned to my home state because that's where DV Resources helped me secure an apartment. However, he followed me back to my apartment from my daughter's school. Things escalated when he broke my nose, shattered my orbital bone, and gave me a concussion, which led to my hospitalization. I had to leave that apartment and go back to hotels and sleeping in my car, and eventually return to my mom's place. So much money feels wasted. Now I have the opportunity to be added onto her new lease, but it's a bigger unit and requires a first and last deposit, something impossible unless I rob a bank. The pet deposit is already paid, but we only have until the 1st of the month, or we will be back to living in the car because we have exceeded our visitation days. This new lease would be for a year, where my rent would only be $500 a month, with utilities maybe around $150. I'd be saving so much money and could start rebuilding my life. We would all have our own rooms, which means privacy. Even though we are all female, privacy is precious. I haven't slept in a bed since the hotel stays, but even then it wasn't my bed. It's been either my car, hotel beds, or the couch. Even when we briefly had our new place, I still slept on the couch with it pushed against the front door. I know all my posts seem repetitive and exhausting, always about the same struggles one after another. But please consider how I feel. I'm desperate for stability, and it seems unattainable because he took so much from me. It wasn't until I was out of our house and away from him that I realized how much power he had over my life. It's embarrassing to admit. Even if I have to go back to living in my car, I'll still be here to talk and remain optimistic because I believe that good things should happen to me, not just in my dreams. Update. I want to clarify that this was a genuine mistake and not done with malicious intent, but I still need to vent about it. Just like the time my daughter's school allowed my abuser to send her a message, this was an accident. However, accidents like these put my life in danger, and I'm utterly exhausted. I post about my situation frequently, and despite some users thinking my ex might find my Reddit account, that's not my primary concern. What terrifies me is him discovering my current location. He has repeatedly violated a restraining order, isn't intimidated by the police, and whenever he gets arrested, he just gets bailed out. I knew the only way I could live a normal life was by getting as far away from him as possible. So I took my daughter and our cat and moved in with my mom, who lives a few states away. I was 100% confident that he didn't know where we were because they had never met. And my mom and I were actually estranged for a few years before my ex and I even got together. I started feeling safe. I stopped jumping at the sound of loud trucks and began to get comfortable, even though not much time had passed. A few days ago, my cat's back leg stopped working and he lost control of his bodily functions. I was at work, but my mom rushed him to the emergency vet. There were questions she couldn't answer, so they asked if he was microchipped. He is chipped, but I had changed my phone number several times recently, so one of the two numbers on file was out of service. They called the second number, which I forgot to update. It was his number. This oversight is entirely my fault. The vet called him for information. He didn't provide any and hung up on them. The receptionist said he called back about 5 minutes later and said, "I know she doesn't have money. Tell her I'll save her cat if she comes home." He knows how much my cat means to me. The first time I left him, he found me because his mom helped him sew an air tag into the lining of the cat carrier. He knew that if I ever left him, I wouldn't leave my cat behind. One time, my ex threw my cat out of the house while I was at work to hurt me. The cat refused to leave the porch. My ex tried squirting him with a water bottle, and when that didn't work, he sprayed him with a hose. My cat essentially got waterboarded but still wouldn't leave. He is my sole cat. When I arrived at the vet and they told me what happened, I had one of the worst panic attacks I've had in a while. I've had my cat for 10 years, and he has never been sick or injured before. This time, he had a UTI and a fractured foot from falling. The vet thinks he probably hurt his foot first, which led to the UTI since he wasn't using the litter box. I noticed he was limping slightly a few days ago, but hadn't been able to get him to the vet yet. The UTI developed quickly. I was naive to think that vets would save a pet's life even if the owner couldn't pay up front. It's not like a human going into the ER. I've spent so much money and time trying to escape my ex, while also trying to provide a normal, safe life for my daughter. Once again, something happens that lets him know the city we are in. I'm not running again because I can't. I don't think he will drive up here since we are a few states away, but this incident has reignited my paranoia and irrational fear. I updated the chip information, but the damage is done. I was foolish for not doing it sooner. This is my fault and I'm so damn tired. Relevant comments. Commenter: why did the vet use the microchip information to contact you? Didn't your mom have your most recent phone number to provide them, or was there some reason she couldn't give it to them? Were you unreachable at work? The whole situation seems a bit strange to me. OWOP. My mom was flustered because she knew that the ER vet visit was going to be expensive, and she was aware that I couldn't afford to pay for it. She felt helpless because she couldn't answer any of the vet's questions since she didn't know the details. She didn't know how old he was or if he had received his shots. Adding to the difficulty, I can't take my phone into my work building, and she didn't have the phone number for my manager. Although I was able to cover part of the cost using scratch pay, I couldn't pay the entire amount, which is heartbreaking. The situation leaves me feeling a mix of a broken heart and frustrating anger. Commenter: I just don't understand why the vet would go through the trouble of scanning the microchip and calling the numbers listed on it instead of simply asking your mom for your phone number. It seems like a lot of unnecessary grief could have been avoided. By choosing to scan the chip and contact the company to retrieve the phone numbers, the clinic ended up doing more work than necessary. This additional step not only complicated the process, but also likely caused delays and added stress for everyone involved. OOP. I've had to change my phone number more than 6 times within a 3-month period, so my mom didn't have it memorized. Commenter: if you are communicating with your mom, her phone would store your contact information. Given that your phone number changes so frequently, the most recent number saved in her phone would be more reliable than a microchip, which is less likely to be updated regularly. This situation is quite unusual. OOP. I was at work and unable to have my personal phone with me. Meanwhile, my cat was experiencing a medical emergency. My mom, who was handling the situation, didn't know my cat's age or vaccination status. The veterinary staff had many questions that she couldn't answer. To obtain the necessary information, they scanned the microchip implanted in my cat. How do you like this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.